The Texas sky turned a dark, threatening purple. July 2025. No one was ready. The rain didn't start like a summer shower, but like an attack, a liquid wall falling from the heavens. The rivers and bayous, peaceful the day before, became raging monsters, devouring everything. This wasn't just a flood, it was an invasion, a brutal erasing of the landscape. Houses submerged, bridges washed away, the state was drowning before our eyes. The numbers kept coming, each inch of rain another wound. They talked about a weather anomaly, but on the ground, it was a biblical disaster. The calls for help, the emergency alerts, the chilling silence that followed. The water made no distinction. Rich, poor, ranches or trailer parks, everything was swallowed. Texas, a symbol of resilience, brought to its knees by the oldest force, water. A life-giving force, but here, it brought only death. The first hours were total chaos. Sirens, alerts, but for many, there was no higher ground to reach. The water rose faster than people could react, trapping families and children. The tragedy was the speed. A familiar street became a raging torrent in less than an hour. The state was in shock, paralyzed. This is the story of that week in July. Unimaginable losses, deep tragedies, but also a story of courage. Ordinary people became heroes. A community that fought back against the abyss. We're going to explore the failures that made this disaster worse. Listen to the voices of the victims. Examine the lessons to be learned. What happened in Texas was more than a weather event. It was a warning, a brutal message about our fragile world and about the future we are shaping. Here's how the sky fell on Texas. In the middle of all the mess, an unexpected hero showed up. Scott Ruskan, he's 17. When the water took over his neighborhood close to Austin, he didn't wait for help. He grabbed his dad's boat and went out into the wild waters. His goal? To save his neighbors, house by house. His first rescue was the Henderson couple, stuck on their porch. He helped families, kids, and even pets, going through strong currents and floating trash. Scott knew every neighbor, every house, every urgent need. He didn't sleep for 2 days, moving dozens of people to a shelter on higher ground. When the official rescue teams arrived, they found out a teenager had already saved a whole neighborhood. Scott's story is about quick bravery and kindness without thinking twice. He didn't do it to be a hero, but because he saw someone needed help. In the disaster, he showed that being a hero isn't about how old you are or what gear you have. It's about having a good heart. One person can really make a difference. Scott Ruskan is proof of that. For every story of survival, there's a devastating loss. The Miller family near the Guadalupe was trapped by the rapidly rising waters. Hiding in their attic, Mark Miller tried to call for help, but it was no use. He made one last call to his brother David, his voice shaking with fear. "It's too late for us, Davy. Tell Mom and Dad I'm sorry. Tell the kids their dad loves them." The line went dead. That was the last anyone heard from the Millers. These words became a symbol of the human cost of the flood. Behind every number, there was a family, a goodbye, love shared in the face of death. The Millers' story is like so many others. Quick goodbyes, lives swept away. Their house, found in ruins, ripped from its foundation, showed how violent the disaster was. Their story isn't just sad, it's a warning. It shows how fast the tragedy happened, how the warnings weren't enough, and the pain of having to make impossible choices. Mark Miller's last words are a strong reminder of all that was lost, and of the love that stays, even when everything else is gone. This is the voice of the victims, and it must not be forgotten. The human cost was shocking, but nothing hit as hard as the tragedy at Camp Agape. 60 kids and 12 counselors, stuck by a flash flood in a valley. The camp was wiped out in minutes, cabins and memories washed away. No one survived at the site. The search turned into a recovery mission. 38 kids and 6 counselors died. The name Agape, meaning unconditional love, became a word for sorrow. Why was a camp even there? Problems with talking and warnings sealed their fate. This disaster showed how easily the weakest can be hurt. The pictures of toys in the mud, of left-behind backpacks, are stuck in everyone's memory. This wasn't just a number, but a deep, painful loss. The quietness of the camp is the saddest reminder of the disaster. The Texas floods were told in pictures as much as in words. Whole cities underwater, roads gone, roofs barely showing. Videos from people showed how strong the water was, families stuck on roofs, bridges falling apart. This wasn't a movie, it was real life for millions of Texans. After the water went down, a scene of broken things, mud, and ruined memories. Sad pictures. A muddy teddy bear, a ruined family album, a wedding dress hanging in a tree. These pictures started a national talk, brought in donations, and demanded answers. Fast motion videos made the danger feel real. The disaster was no longer just a thought, but something you could really feel. The flooded land of Texas became a lasting scar in America's memory, a visual warning impossible to ignore. Even before the water went down, a political storm started brewing. People looked closely at local, state, and federal leaders, saying alerts were too late, buildings and roads were falling apart, and help was slow because of too much paperwork. People living there felt left behind, and they were getting angry. The talk about building too much, too fast, and building in areas that often flood came up again. The disaster wasn't just nature's doing, but the result of many years of bad choices. The arguments led to calls for changes and for people to take responsibility. At the national level, the help that was promised got stuck in political fights. For the people affected, it was a second hardship, a mix of not knowing what to do and fighting among leaders. The storm after the storm showed big problems in how disasters are handled, and it left Texas wanting answers. The Texas disaster was part of a world already swamped by extreme events. The same week, Europe was burning, Asia was suffering from drought, and Africa was praying for rain. The world's newsfeed switched between fires and floods. Scientists linked these crises, symptoms of a global climate gone haywire. Texas wasn't a one-off event, but one link in a chain of disasters. Collective worry grew. Caught between calls for action and emotional exhaustion, messages of support poured in, but also reminders what Texas was going through others had faced for decades. The disaster showed that no country is safe. The water that swamped Austin is part of a global system in trouble. Texas became a symbol of a planet out of balance. After the flood, one question stood out. Why? Scientists were clear. Heat is the main problem. Warmer air holds more moisture, making storms more intense. The Texas storm system pulled from a superheated Gulf of Mexico, releasing record amounts of water. It's not the number of storms that's changing, but how strong they are. Global warming loads the dice for extreme rain. The weather system blocking, made worse by climate change, made the disaster even bigger. This wasn't the weather of the past, but that of a more dangerous world. Texas 2025 became a case study. Climate theory became a deadly reality. The lesson is simple. We've entered a new era of risks. When the cameras left, the real story began. One of bouncing back. The scars aren't just on the land, but in the hearts of Texans. Physical rebuilding will take years, but healing inside will take even longer. Still, a new togetherness was born. Neighbors helping neighbors, strangers sharing food and shelter. The tragedy created strong bonds, turning pain into action. Talks about climate and getting ready aren't just ideas anymore, they're super important. The names of the victims, especially the children from Camp Agape, became a call to never forget. Texas will never be the same. There will be a before and an after. The after needs to be about making smarter choices, having more respect for nature and wanting to protect those who are most at risk. This story is about loss, but also about strength. Texans are hurt, but not broken. Their courage is an example, and a warning for all of us.